If you're making a game, this video is for you. You will learn how to use Megascans assets that take around 1 gigabyte or 1000 megabytes for each asset and modify it so you can use less memory and actually have more variations. For example, you can create something like this completely different with one click and actually use less memory while still having the same details that Megascan have. Not only that, you can actually create a new asset entirely using the same material we will create in this course. So if you want to learn more, you want to improve your Megascans, and you want to make a really badass game, make sure to watch this tutorial because it's gonna go in depth. And by the way, make sure you check our store. We have a lot of cool stuff, like a free course to learn blueprints, modeling a castle in Unreal Engine, and of course a lot of Unreal Marketplace packages made with a lot of effort. So let's continue. So let's take a look at the problem first. So I have my beautiful asset here, and as you can see, it has a lot of detail, and it has the Nanite enabled. It's beautiful. It has a lot of triangles. If I go here to lead, I can go to Nanite visualization, and I can go to triangles. And you can see I have a lot of triangles. And not only that, I have 8K textures, which are extremely nice actually. And this is a little bit too much for games. If you're making a movie or something like that, this may be perfect for you, but in our case, we want to make a game. And what's the problem with this? The problem is that if I right click on this folder and I check on the size map, you will see how much size this asset has. The static mesh itself, which is the model, has 300 megabytes. The normal map has 200 megabytes, 200 for another texture, and 154 for another texture. So it's almost 1 gigabyte. And it's only for one asset. So what we need to do is to reduce the size. But how can we do it? Well, we're gonna work with materials, with textures, and we're gonna change the shader. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is to reduce the size of these textures. Because if I see my asset, press Ctrl B to get all the assets in the content browser, you can see that it's very heavy and we have 3 textures. And to be honest, we have a lot of detail with Nanite already, so we don't need all of them. So what we're gonna do is to go to our library to Megascans. Let's go Ctrl space, add Quixel content, and here in my local content, I will look for some surfaces. I will look for some nice rocks I could have. For example, I could use this one if I wanted. Okay, so I already download this. I'm gonna download this in the medium quality. Okay, so it's 2K. So I'm gonna download this. And I'm gonna do the same for this. For example, this one, my mine rock wall. There you go. And maybe I do the same for this one. Okay. So let's click add. So now that we have our textures here, you can see it's 2K. If we check our size here for each one of those, you can see it's much lower, 25 megabytes, 21, etc. And a total of 68 per material. So what we need to do now is to select these materials and apply it here. But how do we do that? Well, we're gonna do that with material libraries. So if you go to your Megascans presets, you can see you have a bunch of materials. We're gonna use those later, but for now, let's just try to create our own material. So it will be very simple. I'm gonna create a folder here. I'm gonna call it my, I don't know, material library. Let's call it temple because we're gonna do a temple later. So stay tuned. Alright, so here in the temple, we're gonna put material library. And that's what we need to do. So right click here. I'm gonna go to materials And here I have a bunch of options I can choose. But for me, I'm going to choose the material layer. I'm going to choose one now here. Click on this one. So what is a material layer? Think of this as a collection of your material library, where you can have like grass, rocks, wood, concrete, any kind of material. So I'm going to create one, and this will be my master material layer. So I'm going to ML master surface. Alright, so this will be my master material. So let's create this. So here it looks almost exactly like your material editor, where you can plug in things and connect different nodes to get a material. We're gonna do a basic setup, okay? So we're gonna go to our Megascans assets, go to a surface. Let's click on this one, okay? And we don't really need this texture here, but let's use it for now. So let's drag all of those, and we're gonna drag it here, okay? Just like that. And now I have my textures here. Now I need a way to plug them in. So what I need to do is to create a material. So I have my inputs and my output is a material. So right click and then let's choose material attributes and make material attributes. So the base color will be this one. The normal map will be this one. And here, if I open the mask, you can see it's almost unrecognizable. And you can check these buttons here. If I click on this, you will see that in the red one, I have my ambient occlusion. My green one, I have my roughness. And my blue one, I have my displacement map. So I'm going to use those. So I'm going to grab the red one and I'm going to plug it in ambient occlusion. I'm going to go to the green one and I'm going to go to the roughness. And to the displacement, I really don't need to use it now. So I'm gonna leave it as is. And then I'm gonna drag this just like this. And now I have my material. So if I click apply, save, now I have a material here. So what else do we need to do? Well, I cannot just drag this and put it here because it doesn't work. This is not really a material. So what we're gonna do is to create a material here, and we will call it master rock. Okay, so this will be our rock master material, and also we will also right click, create material instance. So this will be an instance of this, but actually let's do that later. So let's just drag this here, and let's put it here. So now what happens is that we lose all our colors, which is the textures that we had before, but now it's a grayscale. So let me duplicate this for a moment so we can compare with the old material. I can just go to details and click here to go back. Okay, so now that I have this, what we need to do is apply the material here. So let's do that now. I'm gonna go to my rock master. You can see here looks more like the traditional material you look like. For example, if I put press 3 here and I put something like red, and then I plug it to my base color, now you will see that my rock becomes red, which it's not exactly pretty, but it's working. All right. So instead of using this ugly red color, let's go to here and let's go material layers, and we're gonna go to material attribute layers. Think of this as layers in Photoshop, where you can put one layer on top of another. So for example, this is my base layer, and I will have a rock here, and there is another layer of top, and I will put, I don't know, moss, and there is another layer, and so on and so on. So all this includes all the materials inside. So we don't need to really do anything actually. So let's go to here. We'll call this my rock layers, something like that. So how do we connect this? Actually, this is a material, so you cannot connect to those. But what I kind do here is click here on my material, go down, and then use material attributes. Check on this one, and you can see all the materials are condensed. So now I can just plug it in. And then click apply. And now this works. Now the reason it looks black, it's because we haven't assigned any material to this. So let's save this just for a moment. Let's go here, let's test 01. And how we assign the material is right click and create material instance. So we'll call it mi rock instance. There you go. So we're gonna drag it here. And nothing has happened because we haven't modified the instance. So I'm gonna double click on this, and you will see I have now two options: the details panel, which is what I usually have, and the layer parameters layer, which it's a new one. So what we need to do is to assign here all the layers that we want, and we can keep adding layers and layers on top. But for now, let's choose the base one. So you can see I can see my master material surface here. This is my material library. So if I click on this one, now the background will be my base material. Let's take a look at this. Alright, so now I have my base material working, but it's a little bit ugly because the resolution is very low, as expected. And, you know, it can look better. Cannot compare to this one, where you have a lot of details. So what we're gonna do is to work on this material library to make it look nicer. So this is what we're gonna do now. So to make this one nicer, what we need to do is to actually modify our material library. And this will be like my master material. So if I think of this, this will be my master material here. And it will have a bunch of parameters, right? Like you can change the color, you can change the tiling to make it smaller or bigger, and so on and so on. And here I can have some childs here. For example, this can be my rock 1, this can be moss, this can be concrete, and all of this will be already using the parameters I have this. So let's take a look at how this works. So if I go here, I want to create a parameter. So what I'm gonna do is to press U to create a texture coordinate, press M to create a multiply. You can also right click and type multiply, but you know, once you know the shortcuts is much better. And you can also press 1 to create a constant. So right now, if I multiply those and I put it here, and if you want to check how a texture looks like, you can just start previewing node and you will see it here. You can see that it's 0, right? And it's very flat. I don't have the color anymore. If I put 1, you will get back to the original color. If I put 5, or let's put something crazy, let's put 15, you will see that the texture is super small. It's like this, super tiny, and it's repeating all over and over again 15 times inside the square of UV space that we have here. So this is what we want to do, but we don't really want to put 15 for now. What we want to do is to right click and convert this to a parameter. So this will be my tiling. Okay, so now that I have my tiling, what I can do is to drag this here, just like that. And I could put a value of 10 if I wanted, right? Just to have something. And let's click apply, and let's see how this changes. Okay, so now our texture has much more resolution compared to before. But, you know, it's repeating all over again, and it's not necessarily pretty. So what we're gonna do is let's save this so we don't lose our work. Right click, and then I'm gonna click on my material layer, and this will only serve to do some material changes. So I'm gonna right click here, and then I'm gonna create a material layer instance. So if I go here, I can go to ML And let's just say just put this name, rock rough. Okay, so this is my material instance. So if I go here, you will see it looks a little bit different. And if I go to my details, I can change the tiling here. So I can change like 15 or maybe 1. And check that this one doesn't change. And the reason is we're using this master surface. So we're going to use this one. Okay, so our background will be with this one. All right. So let's go here to my rough material. Here you can change like 10 or something. Save it. It will compile a little bit. Save everything. Okay. And if this one doesn't change, let's go to our material. ML rough. It should be changing. So if this one doesn't change, just open a new level and then open recent levels and then look it up again. Okay, so now that we have our material layer, we need a way to add more materials to this. So we're gonna do this now. We're gonna go to our master material layer here, and what we're gonna do is to stop reviewing this and right click and convert to parameter. So this will be my base color. Okay, right click, convert to parameter. This will be my normal mob, and right click, and this will be my mask. Okay, so now that I have this, I can create another instance. Let's save everything, and let's create a layer instance from this. This will be my layer mine rock. So we can use this asset here. So it will be very simple. We're gonna go here and we're gonna change these textures. We're gonna go mine rock for the diffuse, mine rock for the mask, and mine rock for the normal. And you can see it looks a little bit different. So if I go here to my rock and I want to change the material, for example, I want to use my mine rock. Now you will see I'm using another material. So let's organize a little bit here. Let's close this. Okay, so if I use the mine rock, it will have a look like this. Let's put it here, take a look. And if I put the rock rough, have a look like this. So what I want to do now is to blend these two. I want to put my rock material here on top, so I will have my rock rough here, which is what I want, and then I'm gonna create a new layer. See, and nothing has happened because I haven't selected any layer, but I will put my rock. You see that it's replaced this one. So if I unclick this, I will toggle the visibility. You will see if I have my layer on, my layer 1, I replace completely my background color, so that's not really what I want. So what I'm gonna do is to create a material layer blend, which will allow me to create different type of blends that I can use to have here on my texture. So let's do that next. So before continue to take a look at what we will do in Unreal, let's explain a simple concept inside of Photoshop, because it works the same inside here than in Unreal. So I have two layers here, background and layer 1. And as you can see, it's happening the same thing that in Unreal. If I put my layer 1, I completely remove my background. And if I hide it, I can see my background again, which is exactly what is happening to us. So there is a concept of masking that we can apply here. If I click here on mask, I will add a layer mask. And what I can paint here, it's black and white. So if I alt click here, I can take a look at the mask. And let's paint some black here. For example, let's do a happy face. All right. So now that I have this, we can see the mask that is working here. And that's very nice, but how do we actually make this one look better? Although it looks cute, it doesn't really work for us. Okay, so this is the same thing we're gonna do in Unreal. So I'm gonna go to Substance Designer here. And if you're unfamiliar with this is just a software to create textures. I'm not gonna go into very deep into this, since you can grab the texture anywhere from Megascans or even the internet for free. It really doesn't matter. But for me, I like to go to Grunge, press tab, go to Grunge, and let's say we can choose this one. Okay, and what you can do is to change a little bit the balance here, the contrast, something like this. Okay, so now I can go here and then copy to clipboard. So now when I Control V, I will have my mask. So if I do this here, you will see I have my mask here, but I don't really want to do that. So what I'm gonna do is to go here, Alt click here in my mask, and I'm gonna paste it here. Okay, and now you have the two layers that are blending. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do in Unreal. We're gonna create this mask, and we're gonna tell Unreal to use this mask to actually use a material here and another material in the background. Alright, so now that we know how to apply the mask in Photoshop, let's see how we can do it in Unreal. Well, first we need a texture. So let's go to a content browser, and I'm gonna import the texture. And I already have something here, so I can import this too if I want it. And I'm going here, and I'm gonna put the grayscale. Make sure all of these are on the grayscale here. There you go. Okay, let's save everything. And now, what we need to do is to create a mask. So how do we do that? Well, it's very easy. Let's go to right-click, Material, and select Material Layer Blend. This will work as a mask. Unlike the material layers that work as material like your library, this will work as your library of mask, and this will work as your library of materials. So let's click on this one. Let's choose MLB, Material Layer Blend. And you can choose any convention you want, but as long as you remember it, that's fine. And let's just call it grunge texture. Okay, so now we're gonna go here. You can see it's very different too. First, it says Material Layer Blend here, and it has two materials. Now, in order to explain this a little bit better, the alpha will determine the mask that we use. If it's white, we're gonna use the material on top. If it's black, we're gonna use the material on bottom. There's nothing really you can do here. But what you want to do is to create the texture. So it will be very easy. Let's go back here to our grunge and put it here. Okay, now we have our texture. We're gonna grab it here. Notice that I'm using this one so I can have a grayscale channel. So let's do that. Okay, so let's click apply. Okay, and let's apply this to our rock. So let's go to our rock. Let's put it here. Okay, and now see that my mine rock is completely replacing the other one. So what I want to do is to select mine, and let's just put grunge texture here. Okay, and now this will use my mask to put my mine rock. So let's try to find it. So you can see that this gray spot is using my mine rock, and the other one is using the rest. So let's try to modify the mask a little bit. Okay, so let's move this back here, and what we're gonna do is to right click and convert to parameter, and we're gonna use like I don't know, texture, uh, crunch texture, something like that. Okay, and we're gonna use the same we did before. We're gonna go to U, multiply, press 1. I'm gonna connect these two. I'm gonna plug in here, and let's click on 1. Okay, so I'm gonna put the default value of 1. Actually, let's change the name to tiling, something like that. Oh, let's click apply. And in order to see this better, let's go to our master surface, and just for the sake of demonstration, let's add an add, and I'm gonna put a constant here. Press 1, right click, convert to parameter, and I will put my brightness. Okay, and I will put it just like this. Select 1, click here, click here. Actually, let's put a value of 0, just for now. There you go. Okay, so now that you have this, let's go to our rock instance. Excuse me. Okay, so now that we have this, we can change the texture to use another one. If I go to my blend asset, let's make this one a little bigger. You will see that I have my layer, which is my material, and my blend asset, which is my mask. So I have a bunch of scalar parameters that I can use. For example, I can change the tiling to 0.5, and you will see that my material is changing. Or I can even change the texture to put any texture I want. Actually, I could put the grid. I could put something like this. And it's very evident when you see it here. So let's put it like grunge. Let's keep the grunge one for now. Okay, and because we create a parameter, let's go to our layer asset, and let's go to our scalar parameters, and let's put the brightness to 0.5, something like this, so it's brighter. Or maybe you can use like 1, 5, something like that. Okay, so we have this, then we have the brightness, the tiling. Brightness 50. Come on, save. Okay, let's close it and open it again. Okay, new level here, up and recent levels, test 1. And for some reason it's not changing. So we're gonna take a look at that now. If I go here to my mine rock, this will be my brightness, and I can change the brightness here. So it should work. If I go to my mine rock, change the brightness. Let's put a MI rock. There you go. Can swap it, and it should work. There you go. That's our rock. Okay, so you can change. If it doesn't update, make sure you click here and then click here again. Sometimes the material layers are a little bit funky, but you know, that's how our mask looks. So what we need to do is to make something nicer to the mask. Change the contrast, basically change the contrast and the brightness of the mask. So we're gonna do that now. So the way we're gonna do it is to go back to our mask here. And what we're gonna do is first, we're going to multiply. This will increase the brightness. So let's go here, press 1, and let's call this intensity. And I put a value of 1 here, connect these two, and now I'm gonna put another one, which is a power node. A power is a contrast node. So what I'm gonna do is to press 1, right click, convert to parameter, and I create contrast. Okay, by default I will put a value of 1. Now there is one thing I need to do before. If I connect these two and I plug them here, there is a problem with this. Let's open the rock here. If I go to my blend asset, you will see I have my intensity and my contrast here. But if I put my intensity like 50, you will see that it's very extreme. And if I put my contrast to 50, like everything is very extreme. So what I want to do here is to put a clamp. And what this will do is to, let's move this one here in case you cannot see it. What this will do, it's clamp the values. If it's more than 1, keep it on 1. And if it's lower than 0, keep it on 0. So I'm gonna put it here. This is a very good practice to make for your materials. Okay, so now our materials are working as they should. So let's try to play with the mask. So we're gonna change the contrast and the intensity. Okay, you can change the intensity. If I put the contrast like 5, you will see that it's very small, something like this. Let's save the levels because I kind of moved my map here. Something very strange about Unreal 5. Anyway, so I can change the contrast, or I can put more contrast or less contrast, something like this. Something like this should work nice. I can change the intensity. I can put 0.1 or 1, or I can put it like 5. Okay, and I can change the tiling like 0.2 or 0.3 or 8 or 20. But it looks like 0.5 is a nice number. Okay, so now what I want to do is, of course, reduce the brightness of this one. And now I have a nicer material, right? So what I want to do is swap them. I'm going to put my rough layer here. And I'm going to put my mine rock. There you go. And by default, we change the default value. So let's put this one to 0 for now. Okay. Let's put it again. And there you go. So now this is working. We can change the parameters. For example, we can change the color parameters for like 15. Something like that. And now we have our mask. And it's working quite nice. So we're gonna use it later to create more mask. So what I want to do here is to actually have more control over my materials, because I actually only can use brightness and tiling. And what I want to do is to use my Megascans materials, the same ones we use in Megascans that they create for us. We're going to use it here. So let's do that next, okay? Okay, so in order to get the nice material that we have here, at least the nice controls, if we go here and press Ctrl B, we can go to our material, and here you can see that it's you have a lot of parameters here. You can change the color. For example, you can put it green or something like that. I don't know why you will do that. You have the albedo controls, like control the saturation. You can control the brightness, and you can control the tiling and everything. So it's very nice. It's very nice. So we're gonna do that here. And how we're gonna do it is, if we check this material, let's go to the parent one. And you will see that I already have something here. But this material here is using the surface material. So if I Ctrl B, you'll see this is the default material. What I want to find is my surface material. This is what I want. So if I go here, you will see that I have a different setup. And the reason is I'm using the tiling here. And because this one is an asset, not a surface, we need to use this one. And of course, another way to use this is go to your Megascan material, and you can see that it has different presets. So if you go here, you will see that it's the same one. So how do we use it? Well, it's very easy. We just need to select all of those, Control C to copy, and it's a little bit messy here, so let's close the windows later. So what we're gonna do is to go to our surfaces, into my material library, and let's go to our ML master surface. So now you see we have a bunch of parameters here, but now if we paste this, now we're talking. So what we're gonna do is to select this like this. So let's delete this. We don't need this anymore. Okay, and this has the material here. So if I go here, I'm already using my Megascans material. So let's apply and see what happens here. And you will see that some things change. So one of the first things is that I'm using this default material. And the reason is I haven't really changed my default material for this ones. So if I go here to my rough rock, I can see that I have my materials here. So what I want to do is to put my rough rock here. And here I will put my rough rock mask. And here I will put my rough rock normal. There you go. And just like that, we are back to normal. Kind of back to normal. If it's the same one, yeah. Okay. So now that we are here, let's close all this because it's a little bit messy. So let's close this one. This one we're gonna keep it like this. The mine rock, yeah, it's just gonna keep it like that. Actually, don't really need to change it. Okay, save it. The grunge map, you don't need it now. This one, and this one we don't need it. This one we also don't need it. Okay, there you go. And my mine rock. Okay, beautiful. Let's save everything. So here, if I go to my rock material, you will see my asset. It's mine rock, and you can see that there is something here that is happening. First, it's a tint or the albedo controls. I'm trying to change the saturation and all these things, but let's do it in the original one. So here we're using my mine rock is using these ones, which I don't want. So let's change this. Let's choose the mine here, diffuse, the mine here as this, and the mine here as the normal map. That's the first thing we need to do. All right, and this is the mine rock, and let's go for my rough rock. Okay, so for my rough rock, looks like everything is okay. We're gonna keep it like that. So what we're gonna do here is let's just put the mine rock here as the background, and here is the rough rock. Just like that. Okay, beautiful. Now we need to change the tiling because we haven't changed it. So what we can do is to either change it here or change it in the master material. So we're gonna change it here. Our rock will have a tiling of 10 by 10. Actually 12 by 12, just like that. And you can see that it's changing. And my rough rock, my mine rock will have a value of 12 by 12 also, I guess. You see the change. We need to save it first. But you can see it's working as expected. Okay, so now that we have this, you can see my texture is working. I'm blending between two materials, and looks like nothing has happened, but now we have more control. For example, I can change the tint of the mine rock. I can put something like red, something like that. And for this kind of thing, it's better to use it on the instance. So the rough rock, for example, I can, once the instance is there, it's already compiled. So I can have a little bit of a darker tone for this, just like that, or maybe greenish one. Or if I go back to the original, I can change the color a little bit to something more red. Something like that, and I can just blend it like this, just to have something different. Okay, so now that we have this, we're gonna add another material, and this will be like small pebbles on top, and you already have a master material for this, so let's do that very quickly. Alright, so let's add another material for this, and it will be very easy. So let's go back to our material here, and let's go to my mine rock, and in here I'm gonna choose a new layer, and we will create a new layer here. So it will be very simple. Let's save everything so that we don't regret in the future. So what we're gonna do is to create a new layer, and we're gonna put it on top. So it's very easy. I'm just gonna create an instance from my material layer, and I'm gonna connect ml moss, something like that. Okay, so if I double click here, if I go to my details, I have all these parameters, which is beautiful, and then I can go to my surface and go here and use my diffuse here. I can use my normal map here, and I can use my mask here. So now I have something nice. So if I go here, let's go to our material rock instance. We can just put it here on the moss. Okay. So what this will do is that this will update all my rock, which is not what I want really. So what I want to do is to only put it on top, like these crevices and this kind of thing. In order to do that, it's gonna be very easy. So the first thing is that, well, let's change the tiling. Okay, let's put something like 10 by 10, something like that. Let's see if this is enough. Okay, actually not enough. Let's go 15 by 15. I regret. Let's go 10 by 10, and let's stick to our decision. Okay, so let's just say it's like this. And what we need to do is to actually create another blend. So let's do that now. What we're gonna do is to go to our material library. Let's save everything, and let's create a material and then material layer blend. Okay, and this will be called MLB and slope mask. Okay, this will be my slope mask. So click on this one. Okay, and now we have the same thing we had before, the two materials blending, and we need to put an alpha. And what we're going to put here is a slope mask. So if we search here and we type slope, and you cannot see it here, we can just drag it here. What you can see, if I right click and start previewing, is that it will apply white on the top and black on the bottom. And this is what I want. So let's apply this. And very easy, we're just going to my material layer blend. Let's look for our slope. Okay, now that we have this, our slope is working. So let's try to take a look. And look at that, now we have a nice, really cool variation here. And if you're on top, like you can see like the grass, and then go down to bottom, it just looks very nice. So there's some things we need to do here to make it look a little bit better. So what we're gonna do is to put the parameters here. So the tangent normal will be a texture. So let's just grab one of these textures here. For example, this one. Okay, and let's put it like tangent normal. Okay, let's put it here. And look what will happen here. It's like my texture actually changed. now it's using the normal map from this to create a nice mask, which already looks nicer. The slope angle will change the direction of which the slope is applied. So I'm gonna click V to create a parameter. You can also put a vector parameter. Okay, it's the same. Oh, let's just call it a slope angle. By default, it's gonna be 1 because it's going from top. If I go here, it's gonna go from top. But if I want it to look from other direction, let's say from the y-axis, let's just put 1 and 0. And you will see that the slope direction comes from this angle. This is very useful for things that accumulate like the snow or something like that you can put on trees. And you can also put it here on X and Y. So it is very useful. Alright, so now that we have this, we can do a couple of more things. Let's put the fall of power. So let's press 1, right click, convert to parameter. Let's call it fall of power. Okay, by default, let's leave it like this, like 0. And actually put 1. You can see it increased like the contrast. And let's Control C, Control V, and let's change the name of this one to cheap contrast. Okay, cheap contrast, just like that. We're just gonna put it here, and let's just put like, I don't know, let's just leave it on 1 for now. Okay, and now that we have this, we can go to our instance. You can see it's already changing a little bit. So if you want to take a look at how this looks like, let's play with the parameters a little bit. For example, we can expand our slope mask, and you can have all the parameters here. Okay, so for example, we can change the fall off to 0, 1, 2, 3. Can change the contrast to 2, 0.1, or -1, 50, 5, 1. And you can just play with this until you have something you like. Put something like 2 or 1. And you, of course, you can change the angle. For example, you can change the direction of which this is happening. For example, I can put it on X. Just like that. And on X, I will be putting here all my things here. I put it on Y. We'll just have it in that direction, which I cannot see because I haven't rotate. But that's the beautiful thing about this, is that you can just go 1, which we had before, and if I press Alt 3, I will check the color. You see how it changed? As I rotate the asset, my asset also changes. Now, there is one more thing here that I want to do. And what I want to show you is that you can actually use any mask. You don't really need to use this one. Although this one looks nice, you can use the grunge texture again. And you can choose a different grunge variation for this. And now you have another mask here. So this is the power of material libraries that you can use to actually change how your texture looks like. Okay, and this is very, very powerful. So let's go for our slope angle. Let's click on 1. Let's click mouse here. There you go. A little buggy, but you know, this is what we have. All right, so now that we have this, what I want to do is to add a little bit of complexity to this. I want to add a global value change. Okay, so we're gonna do that next. And you can see that already my asset is looking much better than before. Okay, and we're using 2K textures. All right, so let's do that next. All right, so now the fun begins. Let's create a completely new material for our Megascan asset. So I'm gonna go for snow. I already choose this nice snow here, and I add it to the library. So you can add any material you want actually, but let's just keep it simple for now. Let's go back to Unreal, and this is my snow. So I'm gonna create what you will think. A new material. So right click, create material instance, ML snow. And just like that, we're gonna go to change all this. So let's put a snow in the albedo map, a snow in our mask, and a snow in our normal map. And now you have snow. Beautiful. So what I will do is to duplicate this one, and I'm gonna create a new material instance. Now this is a little bit messy, but we will wrap it up soon. So let's just duplicate this one. MA rock snow. And I'm gonna apply it here. And nothing has happened because I haven't changed the parameters. You can see the power of this. I can actually go here, and instead of using moss, I can use snow. And I can change all the values. For example, let's go here, and let's go to our background. Let's go to our albedo controls, and let's change the saturation for something like 0.6. Okay. And let's go to our layer 1, 2. Let's go to our tint. Let's go to our saturation, albedo controls. Let's just put something like 0.7. And let's put something like a little bit of a, like this color. Okay, and this one can have something like this, maybe. Can have a little bit of a difference actually. So if you click OK, now you can have something different. Now take a look at this. Now you have snowing all the small little bumps that Nanite give. You can create a completely new asset just like that. And with this, you can actually apply it to many assets. For example, I can go to my Megascans. Let's go here. And let's find one of the rocks we want. For example, let's find this one. And let's put it on Nanite. Click Add. Okay, let's drag our asset here. It should be this one. Well, let's put it here. So this is our Megascan asset. And now I can just drag my snow texture. Can just put it here. And I have a completely new asset. Alright. And I can do the same with a lot of different stuff. Alright, so now that we have our asset, we can compare the two of those. Originally, it was 1000 megabytes, almost 1 gigabyte. And with this one, we have from 200 to 300. So let's take a look at our size map. If right click size map, you will see that if I have like 500 here. But the reason is I'm actually sharing the textures, because these textures are actually used here and are actually used here. So it's really much less than 500. It's like 200 and 300 total. So we only count the size of this one, like 300. And we can reduce the number of textures, of course. We're using 3 materials here, whereas here we're only using 1. So this is an extremely good way to make your assets optimize for your games, because only with one asset, almost 1 megabyte, 1 gigabyte for each asset, and this is only one. If you want to have 10 or 100, you will run out of memory. But with this one, we can still have the beautiful textures of Megascans with all the details, and actually save some memory here. Not only that, but we can speed up the workflow. If we want another material library, we can add some snow here. And we can have a completely different level using the same assets. Not only that, we can actually use other Megascan assets like this one to create different variations using the same textures. And with only one click, we can create a completely new environment and using less resources that actually don't have a loss in quality. This is extremely high quality texture, and originally, while they are nice, they're not meant to be used for games as it is we need to modify them. So if you like this video, give us a like, subscribe of course, and don't forget to tell us in the comments which kind of video you would like to watch, and we may do a video about it. And of course, if you're a serious game developer and want to learn more, or you're making a game and taking a lot of time, make sure to check our store where we have a lot of assets like code, VFX, characters for a very cheap price that you can actually save months of work and thousands of dollars just by getting those. And of course, if you want to learn more, we also have some premium tutorials with a lot of in-depth knowledge just like this one for you to learn more about game development. So I will see you in the next one. Bye.